I will now request Mr. Ritesh Jain to come on stage and call up the panel comprising of Mr. Akshay Yadav, Mr. Christopher Marriott. Please come up on stage. Welcome. You can give them the mics, cordless.
Hello. So, hi everyone. Pleasure to be here again in front of you. And pleasure is all mine because when I've been told about the panel, and I said, when we are thinking about a panel in the BFSI, let's talk about UPI 10 at 10. So the baby is 10-year-old now, and 10 billion transactions a day, not a small feat. And when I think about the UPI just did not scale the payment or digitize the payment, but it has changed the behavior, the customer behavior at a scale. Now what we are really looking forward is, and next, what is going to happen after this? So when I got to know about the panel and I decided the subject, and I had a very clear view about the gentlemen sitting on my left and right, that they are going to be on the panel. And why they? Because let me introduce you Akshay Yadav. Akshay Yadav is director at UIDAI. So when we talk about the payments, definitely you talk about the identity first. And at the left hand, I have got Christoph, and Christopher leading Lever. And I'm sure you must have heard about the UPI at Eiffel Tower. So I'm sure you must recognize his face. So when we talk about the UPI, it's not only in the country, but in the global markets as well. So Lever has had a privilege, and thanks to them, that they have taken UPI to the global markets. So I could not think of any other people better than them to have on this panel. So Akshay, I would really like you to introduce yourself quickly, and then we can directly jump on. I know that you have to dash.
So, Namaskar and good afternoon. I think no introductions are required. I am placed at Mumbai at the regional office here, and I am the director here. We look after the financial sector, a couple of other things in terms of direct benefit transfer in the western region. I'll keep the introductions a bit short. The topic is very interesting. Ritesh is going to pull up a couple of surprises. And we've got a lot of, I would say, inputs that will come from Christoph. What we need to understand is you came here, you had a meet and greet, you exchange cards. That's what you are doing when you're validating A with B. We are beyond that stage when we talk of UPI. You had an identity layer, enabled seamless onboarding. That seamless onboarding gave you a payment gateway. That is what you're using. And you can put it, if you in economic terms, the black swan event was COVID, which kind of pushed these transactions to a volume where they became exponential, and the reach became or went down to the masses, and now anybody and everybody is using UPI as a medium or an instrument of payment. Further details will dwell as we discuss as we progress ahead during the course of the discussion. I have only one request, Ritesh. I am a bit short of time, so I will take liberties in between.
Thank you. And Christoph, a quick introduction. We can directly jump onto the question with Akshay because we will be seeing him running.
Okay, so I will try to make a very fast introduction. So Lyra started 20 years ago in India. When we started, it was not that easy to make a bridge between Europe and India. And fortunately, thanks to UPI, we have been able to put a bridge between India and Europe in making UPI available in Europe for Indian tourists and Indian students. And we are very happy to have brought UPI to the most iconic monument in Europe at the Eiffel Tower. So there are lots of monuments or places where UPI will be available, but I will talk soon about it. And it's also because we have a license of a payment aggregator in France at Banque de France, but we have also a license in India with RBI, and it is thanks to this close relations that we have with the central bank that we have been able to do this bridge.
Thank you, Christopher. Akshay, I'm coming back straight away to you. That we know that UPI is all about the convergence of the identity, trust, and the payment, right? And we have seen that it has done beautifully. India digitized trust, and the foundation is the identity. Now, how do you see that the identity layer in the next phase, and how it is going to play a role in the financial intelligence?
When we all look at UPI, we have to understand that it was India's stack at work. It was not UPI in isolation. I'm not taking any credit away from UPI. You created a digital public infrastructure that gave you, you will put it guardrails, and I would put it ladders which you climbed successively. And these ladders gave you a open architecture framework where you were working on a model which was plug and play. In today's date, you are not walking on the sidewalk. UPI is a highway. Either you are riding the wave or you're not riding the wave. Why I put this in context is, and I'll quote, what did we manage to change? We decided that we wanted to confirm who, that is Aadhaar, which is what I represent. Then we wanted a medium of payment, that was how to make this identity financially acceptable. So UPI is the how. And the third part is the account aggregator framework, which is why. Now, when you look at all these three things, in the coming years, we've had everybody's got a UPI account from one service provider or the other. Transactions are being made. Banks are working at the back end. Financial inclusion is I would say, in very reasonable numbers. There are some challenges at certain places because of the remoteness of those areas, and those challenges are also being looked after by direct benefit transfer. But what you have moved on to is, in Ritesh's talk, one of the points he made was BNPL. We were not ready for it. I agree to it. You started having frauds around it. Okay. Then and the frauds were, if you look at it from simple day-to-day frauds. Why simple day-to-day frauds is you ordered something, you were not there, you denied. The friction of making that to and fro and then settling that payment, which was based on an order, became a hassle. So you withdrew back. But then you extended a credit line on UPI. Why were you able to extend it? The gateway, and I'm using DPI as a gateway, provides you everything now in an instant. You are used to 1 minute banking. When I say that, and my apologies, I'm taking names, Kotak 811 account or Insta accounts that you create, not Instagram, but instant accounts that you create. Everybody says choose a number and the credentials will be leveraged. We are now looking at UPI being a data enabler to confirm your financial standing. If we are looking at it as an enabler, that is where the change lies. So I think this is what I'll sum up with.
Thank you, Akshay, and that's beautifully put. It's not in its isolation. Basically, it's orchestra, not the solo play, right? And that's where the DPI has made a difference. Now I'm coming back to the global lens, Christoph. From the global lens perspective, you have seen the UPI, we have seen the PIX, we have seen FedNow, we have seen SEPA, right? Instant rails in the global markets. How do you see UPI is different than likes of SEPA, instant rails, PIX, especially in the UK European market, and whether it's the ideology or the infrastructure, or what is it?
Okay, Ritesh, it's a very interesting question. And at the introduction, you say that UPI, we cannot think UPI without the digital identity. And I think with Aadhaar, actually you have done a very wonderful job in India, because in Europe we don't have this unified digital identity. So we have to be sure of the identity by the other ways. Like, for example, with 3D Secure for e-commerce transaction, with a PIN code for card transaction. And I think with DPI, and UPI is a part of DPI, Aadhaar is a part of DPI, it's a complete different philosophy. And in Europe, we have to find ways to ensure that the fraud is very low, to compensate the fact that we don't have a global digital identity. Of course, we are working on it, but today there are, for example, in France, there are several digital identities. So I think that UPI, Aadhaar is a very different philosophy. What has done India, it's wonderful. In Europe, it's more difficult because every country has its own vision, and we have to do something together. And I would say that this is the most difficult thing in Europe. So I will talk about philosophy. Of course, you are one country, so in a way, it's easier. And the other thing, which is where you have been very successful, is regarding instant payment. Because today, most of our payment methods in Europe are not instant payment. We have instant payment, but it is very new. And also local schemes, these are not local, international schemes like Visa and MasterCard did everything to stop instant payment, because instant payment is account to account. And if it is account to account, they are losing the transaction. So this is also the third thing that you have done, which is wonderful. That means that you have create your own scheme, an own scheme on instant payment. I remember 2 years ago, I don't have the figures of today, but 46% of the instant payments in the world were done by UPI, which is tremendous, and India is really in advance in this for doing instant payment.
Thank you, Christoph. That's really insightful. Now, coming back to Akshay, we talk about the UPI in the country. Have you fully understood, and exploitation is not a right word, I know, but have you fully understood the role of UPI not as a payment gateway, or not just for the payment system, but as a decision infrastructure or the data infrastructure? Have you really understood that?
So your quasi question should have been on the alignment of monetization of data. The way I would look at it.
I wanted to come back that later, but thank you for picking that up. I've been talking about the monetization. Yeah. Yes, because that's another challenge that, it's a highly successful platform and the capability, but are we really monetizing it? So, yes.
No, so I'll mix both of them. I'll try to cover both these aspects, and I'll take a cue from what Christoph said. Christoph said instant payments. If I may, Christoph, please pardon me. And for all of us, हमारे यहाँ पे पैसा देना मुश्किल हो रहा था, और पैसा लेने के बाद वो बैंक में जाना मुश्किल हो रहा था. So Christoph, it was becoming difficult for our tier 3, 4 and 5 to get access to instruments of financial inclusion. And after getting access, making a payment was a problem. That is what we resolved, or we addressed with the India stack, and UPI is one enabler in that. Now, we are beyond this. Why I spoke a little liberally was, we are beyond this. All of us are used to it. And take your mind back to that Autowala or anybody. They are part and parcel of our lives. We use hired services anywhere and everywhere. Uber gives you some clean services where somebody comes and does all your cleaning, etc., etc., and everybody is making a payment. So the payment that you make as a customer, what changed in that instant payment is, one part is you could pay instantly. The most important part is I could use it instantly. Earlier on, I didn't have this advantage. I would open a bank account and I would wait कि कब आएगा, फिर मैं कब निकालूंगा, फिर मैं गिनती करूंगा कितना पैसा कहाँ रखना है. My apologies. So I will translate for you. When will the money come? How will I get access to it? And how will I then spend it? And how much of volume has to be in cash? That is what I'm referring to. This point is now addressed to a reasonable extent. You can never be 100%. What you are wanting to leverage is now above this layer. So what is your transaction spend pattern? What is the nature of payments or transactions that you're doing? Again, these are data points. Take a loose example. If you have an Apple or an Android, the service charges for different services vary at e-commerce platforms. It's a known fact. So what are they doing? Besides having a KYC, they are looking at your financial standing based on an instrument or a mobile that you're using to access that e-platform. Now, why I make this statement again and again, and I'm trying to emphasize it, is the transaction spends, we are always worried, and a lot of discussion took place in India around about a year or 2 years back, whether the payments are going to be levied a charge from an individual point of view. It's already clear, no. Where you can make certain amount of value out of it is at the merchant level. I'm sure all of us who are doing business will understand that if you are giving a valid credential to a merchant, you are able to settle his books, and he's able to get those payments in time, and he's able to use them. I'm sure he's getting a lot of data points which are aggregated, which can be given as a service, which can be, for which you can charge a premium. And that is where you can make money. Or where you can not make money, that's a wrong term, where you can leverage it to get certain revenues. However, this should be not at the cost of an individual. This is what I'll finish with. Why not at the cost of an individual? Because for 3/4 of our population, it's still a medium of financial inclusion.
Thank you. Thank you, Akshay. So we will take the question towards later on, because Akshay is also in a rush. So we'll definitely take that. Now, Christoph, coming back to you, Akshay mentioned pretty well in terms of the monetization. And in the payment systems, the monetization is across the multiple layers, right? Authorization, fraud, interchange fee, and whatnot. So it's across the layer. Now, India is at a stage where we are looking at the GeoMDR. So how do you see that is working, and what is the monetization that you can think of from the UPI perspective?
Yes, in India, monetization is a big deal because actually you are right. You have done something which is wonderful for inclusion. You were having a big challenge, and this has been done. But if you look at fintech like Lyra within India, the MDR is 0. Okay, so how do you win money? So the state of India has won money because when UPI is doing that, GST is doing that. So I think it's very good for infrastructure and so on. And UPI, I think, is a big layer for collecting tax. But as a fintech, you have 0 MDR. So at Lyra, we have to find ways to win money. Of course, to provide services, added services on UPI to be able to win money. So it can be monetization of data to give more information to the merchant. But this is a real challenge. And I think, anyway, to make payment has a cost. It has a cost to fight against fraud. We have huge regulation constraints. And at the end, I think the MDR shall not be 0. Because if the MDR is 0, that means that you will compromise on fraud. And at the end, you will lose the confidence of the customers.
Thank you, Christoph. So basically what we are saying, in the future of UPI monetization, not in payments, but in the credit data, the decisioning intelligence, and the multiple layers, right? That's what Akshay was referring to that earlier as well, that the zero MDR, we understand because businesses need to make money as well, right? So either for how long government can provide the free infrastructure and how long companies can sustain that. And it is significantly challenging. But at the same time, when we talk about there's a significant opportunity for the businesses and the multiple business models which have been created, because what UPI did has changed the fundamental behavior of your customer. Now they are looking for everything in instant. So I rather look into rather putting something onto the UPI, rather utilize the various business models, and as you rightly said about the decision and the intelligence and the data, but the data is like if you can't utilize your data for the revenue, it doesn't make any sense. So that's why I was talking earlier about the in-moment monetization. Do you really think that is good enough? So it's being slightly loaded, but do you really think that the in-moment monetization or the credit data is going to be sufficient enough for the businesses, those who are working in the remit of the UPI?
Okay, of course, as a payment provider, we have lots of data. But there is one question. What do you do with the data? What the regulator enable you to do with the data? Because, for example, in Europe, it's a long time ago that we have put in place with GDPR. So you are doing the same kind of data protection in India, and I think if you want to comply with data protection, you cannot do anything. And to say the only way to win money is on data is also a little bit dangerous, because most of the data of payment are private data. And I think that regulatory you have to protect the data of the user, because the user does not know what is done with its data. So there is a huge work to anonymize the data that we are doing at Lyra, because at Lyra we are accustomed to do it, because in Europe we have this regulation. And of course, even with anonymized data, you can do prediction, you can aggregate data if the customer is okay for doing it. You can take a decision, fast decision for credit and so on. But there is a regulation problem anyway behind it.
Thank you. Akshay, question to you, like, because as India, we are the first one in the world in terms of where we have got the identity infrastructure, we have got the best proven, best digital payment infrastructure in the world, and with the account aggregator, right? So are we close to becoming the world's first fully programmable financial ecosystem? Because we've got all the ingredients that's required.
So I'll give a counter question. It's always better to surprise the moderator, you know. Are we not? Think around it. We are all looking at everything being given to us in certain CAGR numbers, year-on-year growth. Are you not already pre-programmed? Your auto debits are pre-programmed. The lowest level of smart contract works there. Let's not go to blockchain. Your billings in terms of electricity bills, etc., you have an option to do an auto debit. When you take your antivirus for which you are taking at a personal level, each one of them asks you for your credit or debit card details and asks you that are you subscribing and giving consent to a mandate to pay this amount year on year for the next certain number of periods. You have programmed it. Now look at it from our point of view a little different. So you've got the identity sorted out, you've got KYC sorted out, you've got medium of payment sorted out, money is now coming into a particular account which is having an instrument of payment which you are using UPI as one of the instruments of payment. Do you want to mandate it further? You are already doing it. The most simplest example I can do is, my apologies again, your LinkedIn profiles, the premium ones. Accept UPI as a prepaid instrument with a contract which says ki every month how do you want to get your amount debited. It gives you an option. I am giving these simple examples. Why? institutional processes require the financial sector to comply with certain guidelines. And now I'll take a cue from what Christoph said. GDPR in their case and DPDP in our case is an essential requirement for a very simple reason. Till the time we were able to use certain digital instruments to get access to services was fine. The moment the access and the use scaled up, we wanted to control and we were not wanted to restrict. Please understand control. And this control starts first from my point of view. If the three of us can collate data from whether authorized or unauthorized mediums and can make predictive analytics out of that and then sell a service to you, will you be ready to accept it? You will ask me, which company do you represent? Are you a regulated entity or no? What is your stake in the system? How much of teeth are you invested in terms of the market? And with this standing, you will come to me and accept a business proposition that I want to take ahead. So I would say certain amount of pre-programming is there, but you have to understand that India is a different economy, a different market, and a different education base which diversifies across the country. So you have to take the last base first and not the first one. हमारे लिए Digi Yatra is part and parcel for every airport checkup or check-in. Go to Kolhapur, from here you'll find the difference. So I would leave you with that.
No, thank you, Akshay, and that's really powerful in terms of we need to think about the person in the last, and that's where the ideology have been with the digital public infrastructure, fortunately, and what government has put up. Because in most of the countries, when you go or in the global market, payment is a product, but in India it's infrastructure, and that says it all. The country processes more than 10 million transactions a day. And VA accounts for 45 to 50% digital payments transaction in the world, right? So there's no reason that why I don't see that as a converting into the data and intelligence layer over the period of time. So thank you. Now, coming back to Christoph, it's about the global adoption. So what are the biggest barrier you see in the global adoption? Is it the technology, the regulation, or the monetization? What is the biggest barrier for UPI or anything beyond this?
Okay, so if I'm talking about UPI in Europe, I would say the biggest barrier is the acceptation. And why is the acceptation? Because it is QR based. And in Europe, we are more card based. So that means that you need an acceptance device which is able to display the QR code. And you can think it's easy. For you, it's easy in India because you are accustomed to that, either a static QR code or a dynamic QR code. In Europe, a static QR code won't work except in special place. So you need an electronic device which is enabling the display of the QR code. And of course, it can be a POS, but a POS maybe won't have the availability, if it is an old POS, to display the QR. And even if he has the availability, it's not maybe easy to convert the merchant to display this QR code. So sometimes the difficulty is in the detail, but what we have, the most challenges we got with UPI in Europe was the display of the QR code. And all, of course, the chain to that the merchant knows that the payment is accepted and so on. So, for example, for every big merchant that we have implemented, Galeries Lafayette, Eiffel Tower, tomorrow the airport, we have pharmacies, we have restaurants. It is how they're going to display the QR code and how they will loop it to their cash system to know that the payment has been accepted.
Thank you, Christoph. So I know we are at time, so I would be just wrapping up. But last question, in terms of one line, how do you see UPI in the next 10 years?
So I'll break the jingo again. So it's not a instrument of utility is the way I will look at it. And that one line is I would treat it as a FOS, that is a financial operating system. I hope you may agree to it, Christoph. And it gets you access to CCI, not Cricket Club of India, but to credit, commerce and identity.
Thank you, Akshay. That's very intelligently put. Christoph, to you, how do you see UPI in next 10 years?
I see UPI more and more global because I talked about the problem of acceptance that we have today, but I think that QR are more and more used in the world. So I think in a few years we will be able to accept UPI everywhere in the world. So Indian will be able to travel everywhere. And for India, I think India will be one of the leader country in payment because you have been able to combine in a single system digital identity and payment. And this, no other country has done it because if you look, for example, China, they don't have a single payment method. They have Alipay, they have WeChat, they have China Union Pay, but with UPI, you have been able to combine payment, instant payment, and digital identity. And I think thanks to that, you are really in advance to any country in the world.
Thank you, Christoph. So, in my view, and thank you very much, gentlemen, in terms of the view you have put up, specifically from the financial operating system, Akshay, and the credit intelligence, that's what we are looking at. And Christoph from the global markets perspective and the zero MDR. Now, the way I see UPI in terms of UPI has enabled to move money instantly, but my view is like whether can it make capital think intelligently, right? That's one part, as well as the way I'm saying that I really don't want to measure the UPI in terms of the number of transactions. Rather, I would really like to see that how it is influencing the number of decisions made based on the transactions. So thank you very much. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you, Ritesh. Thank you, Akshay.